Hello and welcome to the Vanguard of Light. And today we're going to talk about you never know the power you possess. And the hero of this story, or the heroine of this story, is Nica. And so Nica, she was an amazing archer, the best of the best. However, Nica was not very happy, and part of her happiness came from she was starting to hate archery. I wouldn't say she was starting to hate archery. She started hating archery a long time back because at a very, very young age, she was trained to be an archer and forced to be an archer. And it was a real brutal type of training to where, like, you know, if you didn't hold your arm right, whack, you get smacked. If you would miss a target, whack, you would get smacked. Like really, really intense. And it was like, there was no room for error. There was no play. There was no enjoyment. It was like, you are going to be the best at this no matter what. And if you're not, you're gonna suffer. You're gonna suffer really bad. So, I mean, obviously her growing up was like this. It was like, you're gonna be the best, it's gonna win no matter what. And there was that enjoyment of winning. So there was that little positive, like, oh my gosh, it is good to win. However, it was so brutal. Like, it was just, you have to do it this way. This is how you're gonna be. You're gonna be this way, this way, this way, this way. And it got so much to the point where it wasn't even so much her parents were telling her she has to be this way. She had already adopted into her own mind to where she was her worst own critic, where she was beating herself up. Like, if she missed a little bit, she didn't need to get smacked. She would be smacking herself. So she had gotten that point to where it was just, archery was brutal. And there was the contest, and there was the pressure of the contest, and she had to win, right? And it was expected that she'd win, and not just win, but win by the most, the best. There was never like, oh my gosh, you win, celebrate. It's, oh my gosh, you win, but why did you miss that one shot? Why did this not happen? And it was just constant, and the pressure was building on her. She was getting, you know, just more miserable, because like, archery was no longer fun. And it wasn't even about winning. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, I get to win. It was like, she had to win. And she was getting more and more stressed out and more and more unhappy, right? And she's pondering her fate, and she knows it's not like she can leave archery. I mean, she's still dependent. Her parents would not let that happen. Her family would not let that happen. It was like, she had to be the best. She's feeling like herself kind of unravel of like, this is not working. What am I gonna do? What if I start missing shots? What's gonna happen? How? Like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? Well, lo and behold, she happened to be, you know, she's always got her archery gear with her. She's always like, it's just like, that has to be with her. She's out in the woods, and all of a sudden, this lady's coming, this old woman, and she's on this amazing, this magnificent horse. I mean, we're talking like prize, amazing. But the lady didn't look like nobility or anything like that, like just a common lady, maybe a little scruffy, older, right? And she was walking, and she had this quiver of like kind of ratty looking arrows and a bow, like a very basic bow, nothing like a Nica's, nothing, not even close to Nica's. Nica's was like the top, the best of the best, like everything is honed perfect, right? And this lady is looking like she just bought it at the market, like it is looking pretty crummy. But the Nica's like, you know, first distressed, but two is amazed by this horse. And the lady, when she's passing, says like, oh, I noticed that you're very distressed. Now, Nica was a little taken aback by that, because she's like, well, yeah, I am distressed, but why? How could you possibly know this? Like, no one knows this. You know, I'm a Nica, I'm an amazing archer, right? And she's kind of like, oh, I'm an amazing archer. I don't do distressed. You know, I am, you know, focused. I am disciplined. I am like, you know, kind of like posturing of like, hey, look, I'm not, no, right? And the old lady was like, well, no, it's clear that you're distressed. And I don't know if you're really the best archer. You know, I'd be willing to wager that I'm a better archer than you, and I'll bet you my horse. And now Nica's like, this lady has got to be crazy, and I love that horse. She's like, I'll take that. I'm gonna show this lady what's up. So Nica's like, oh yeah, you want to bet? I'll show you. I'll show you how good I am. I'll be happy to take the horse from you. Tell me what's the contest. And the lady's like, it's just gonna be one shot. Whoever has the best shot. Whoever's the best shot will set up a target. Could be 50 yards away. You'll shoot first. I will shoot second. And whoever has an arrow in the target, that's the best shot, wins. You know, if you win, you will get my horse. And Anika's like, okay, I mean, I'm gonna win, but what happens if you win, which is not gonna happen? And the lady's like, well, you will do two things for me. I will make two requests of you, and you will not be allowed to say no. And then Nica's kind of like, two requests? Nothing bad. There'll be requests that you actually want to do. And Nica's like, yeah, wait, there's something's weird about this. You know what I mean? I can get a horse and you're gonna make two requests that I wanna do. You know, it's not like, oh, I gotta jump off a bridge or something like that. No, two requests that you're gonna want to do. So Nica's like thinking, okay, this is a no-brainer. I'm doing this, awesome, let's set it up, sets up the contest. And Nica's like, not even scared. Because, you know, no one's here watching and it's just that old lady and she's like, oh, I got this. You know, she's not, and it was almost like a little bit of the joy she used to have doing archery, because every once in a while you get that Zen moment and she just, oh, it feels so good. But that was definitely, you know, squashed out of her with just the pain and the like reinforcement and the like error and wrong and wrong and wrong. But now there's no one watching. So she sets up, she sets first shot, she's doing all the stuff she knows to do, gets the arrow, whew, launches it, bullseye. Hits the target, bullseye. And Nica's like, oh, I'm getting the horse. And the old lady is like, wow, that's an awesome shot. It's amazing, great job. And she gets, you know, down from the horse and she's setting up and she's kind of shaky. And she's got the arrow on this ruddy looking, you know, bow and just like that. And Nica's just thinking, oh, this is gonna be so fantastic. And the old lady kind of shakes and kind of lines it up and then whew, lets it go. And the arrow, whew, right, just like Robin Hood, right through the back of her arrow, exploding her arrow. Like Nika's arrow explodes. There's like nothing left of it. And all that's left is the old lady's arrow right in the bullseye. And Nico's like, what? How, what? Like just never seen something like that. Never seen, like an arrow just exploded. And then she was like, oh, wait a second, I lost. But then Anika was like, I lost, but oh my gosh, this lady must be the greatest, you know, archer of all times. You know, I've got to study with her. I've got to train with her. You know, oh my gosh. And she was like, oh, ma'am, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to be like prideful and like, you are so amazing. You're the greatest archer ever. You know, please, 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 will you train me? Please, I will do whatever you say. I promise I'll do whatever you say. I'll get up early. I'll wash your horse. I'll do whatever it takes. Please, if you will just train me. Please just train me. Please just train me. Please, please, please. And the old lady says, yes, I'll be happy to do. And that was my first request, is that you allow me to train you and you do what I say. And Anika's like, wait, what? Wait, you want it? That's one of my 2 requirements, is that you're gonna train me, that I agree to be trained by you? And Anika's like, this, she's like, well, of course, yes. Realizing that like, that's so odd, because the lady said there'd be 2 things that she would ask me to do, and one of them, or 2 of them, will be, I would want to do it. And this is something that Nica wanted so bad. And she's like, absolutely, this is amazing. I want this, right? And so Nica's, you know, next day, and they're gonna start training, and the old lady is like, you know, kind of getting ready, and Nika's like getting all position and stuff like that. And the old lady's like, don't do that. And Nika's like, don't do what? She's like, all what you're doing. And Nika's like, what do you mean? I got my position, I got my form, I'm got this, and I was like, don't do that. And Nika's like, kind of like, whoa, what do you mean don't do that? This is the best form. And she's like, don't do that. And Nika's like, well, what should I do? She's like, just take a moment to hold the bow how you want to hold it, but don't hold it like that. So Nika's kind of like, what? And still not sure, kind of like moving her arm a little bit and kind of like this. And the old lady's like, is that how you want to hold it? And Nika's like, maybe, I don't know. And then would shoot and it'd be terrible. And Nika's like, what? Thinking that like, okay, maybe this old lady's just training me on something new. So she keeps going. And like day after day, it's like that. Where the old lady is just like, is that what's in your heart? Is that how you want to do it? Does that feel right to you? And then it always back to battle. And Nica's like, no, this is the way. And she launched it to be perfect. And the old lady would be like, yeah, but did that feel the way you wanted it to feel? And Nica's like, what do you mean? It's just the way. This is how I've been told. This is just like, no. Did it feel right to you? Was it the way you wanted to hold it? Was that the arrow you wanted to pick? And Nica was very confused. And every time it seemed like she would kind of listen, because the old lady would repeat of like, you agreed to be trained by me and that you would follow what I say. And Nica was like, I know, I do, I want this. And she kept thinking about that arrow and how it exploded. And she's like, okay, it's gotta be worth it, right? And so she's trying to think the way and do the way and, you know, kind of shoot it. And it's never as good. I mean, it's kind of going, she's feeling a little better, but it's like the arrows are just shooting terrible. Like just, it's horrible. Like it's just nothing compared to her focused super way. But she is starting to enjoy herself more. She is kind of looking forward to shooting the arrows, feeling what it feels like, kind of breaking down like that so much regimen of she had to do it this way and this is the only way. And now she's starting to listen to herself. And the old lady kept on pushing her, you know, to where she was doing it. And like, it just seemed like that old lady knew. That's when Nica was like, she's like, she always knew. She always knew when I'd like try to sneak one in and kind of like get my form better. And the old lady, is that what you feel in your heart? Right? And Nica would be like, no, right? And she'd let them fly and they just go all over, right? So it's going kind of crazy, but Nica actually was enjoying it. She was starting to enjoy life again, right? And she kind of got lost in the training, right? She got lost in it and it was just kind of like, start thinking about having it to be perfect and having to be this. And she just got lost in the moment and actually enjoyed archery again. And then there was one time where she like remembered one of her techniques and kind of held it right? And launched it, right? And she's like, oh, like looking over the lady, oh, like, oh my gosh, I didn't mean to. She's like, but did you feel like you wanted to do it that way? And Nica was like, well, yeah, I did feel like I wanted to. She's like, then do it. And Nica was like, wow, that's so weird. Because before when I did it, I wasn't supposed to, but now like it felt right, I could do it, right? And so she just started doing it. It's like, wow. She was way more accurate. She's like, wow, okay. I'm gonna explode the arrow. This is gonna happen, right? She's getting really fired up. And the next day she comes out and she holds her posture. And the lady's like, no, what are you doing? She's like, what? Yesterday, you said I could hold it. She's like, well, that was yesterday. How do you feel today? How do you want to hold it today? And then Nica was like, well, I want to hold it that way. She's like, really? And then Nica knew in her heart that, like, oh man, I didn't really want to hold it that way. I mean, I was looking forward to hitting the targets the same way again, but I kind of wanted to do it different. And somehow that old lady knew, right? So Nica went back, you know, kind of all that came back of like, oh my gosh, my target, my goal. And then she was like thinking it's going to happen. And then it felt like it got taken away again to where it's like, oh, we're back to this weird doing it just how it feels right way, right? She kept doing this, but then again, she kept lost in it and got happy and got excited. But then what happened is like, there was like, she was about 3 months, you know, it was just 3 months, this super national, everybody's coming tournament. And Nica was kind of thinking like, oh my gosh, this is coming up. I haven't trained for it. I'm not hitting the target the way I'm supposed to hit the target. You know, what am I gonna do? Is kind of getting stressed out. And she's shooting and getting regular. And the old lady was like, do you agree to be trained by me? And Nica was like, yes, I'm just, this is training and this thing's coming up and, you know, I could lose my title and I wouldn't be this and I wouldn't be that. She's like, but what do you feel? And Nica was like, I don't care about that. I don't want to worry about that. I just want to shoot. I just want to shoot my arrows today. She's like, do that. So Nica was shooting and it still was kind of off, you know, shooting and kind of getting better and worse and going. And there was one day that the old lady says, you are ready. And the lady's, and then Nica was like, what are you ready for? What do you mean ready? She's like, you're ready. You have taken my training. You're ready to graduate. And Nica was like, what? Thinking like, I haven't done the arrow thing. And it's like, what do you mean I'm ready to graduate? Like, I can't do, like, it's like, no, you're able to trust yourself. You're able to hear the message of yourself. You are now ready to graduate. And Nica's like, I don't understand. She's like, here, we're gonna do a test. We're gonna set up a target. You're gonna shoot 6 arrows into that target. And I'm gonna show you that you're ready. And Nica's like, okay, I'll do this. You know, I trust you. She's got such a bond with this lady and actually enjoys archery again, right? So that's a miracle in and of itself. So the old lady sets up, Nika's already getting relaxed. And then the old lady's like, one more thing. And Nika's like, what? You're gonna be blindfolded. And Nika's like, what? Blindfolded? She's like, yeah, blindfolded. And Nika's like, what? How am I gonna be able to do this, right? But the lady's like, just trust me, right? So she gets blindfolded. And then Nika's like, she's like, just pick your arrows, hold the bow the way you wanna hold the bow, do what you feel right, and shoot 6 arrows, right? So Nica shoots them, just no clue where they're going, just right? And this is in the woods like before, so it's in the woods. And the lady takes off her blindfold and Nica looks at the target and there's 1 arrow in the bullseye, just 1. And then Nica's kind of freaking out here. She's like, my tournament's coming up. I hit 1 bullseye. Normally she hits 6. I shot it blindfold. I don't know what this training is. I'm supposedly gonna graduate. And she's like, this is the biggest mistake ever. You know, I shouldn't have trained with this lady. This is ridiculous. You know, like, I can't believe I got fooled. I got tricked. This is horrible. I'm so dumb. You know, all that old stuff came flooding back in. And she's just like, I made a mistake. She's like, I'm leaving. This is ridiculous. And the old lady said, that's fine. If you want to leave, you're always allowed to. You know, I just requested that you train with me, and you have trained with me. But before you go, will you go and collect those arrows, the ones that didn't hit that target? And then Nika's like, well, of course I'm going to get them. They're my arrows, right? It's like, probably take me all day. So Nica goes into the woods, reclaims her first arrow, and then, you know, is kind of like rustling through, going further on, and she comes up to another bullseye with 1 of her arrows. A bullseye she could not see. And she was also blindfolded, and the arrow is right in the middle of the bullseye of that target. She's like, wait, no, that's a fluke, right? So she gets her arrow, she's searching, and she comes across another target with an arrow right in the bullseye. And she's like, wait a second, how is this possible? She's like freaking out. Like, this is like, wait a second, that's 3 bullseyes. And she's continuing through further and further away, way past her range. She comes across another target, arrow right in the bullseye. Another target she never knew about, arrow right in the bullseye. And another target, arrow right in the bullseye. 6 shots, 6 bullseyes, 5 targets she did not know about. And she comes back to the old lady and she's like, what just happened? Like, how do I have, I mean, I had 6 bullseyes. And the old lady was like, you do. And I said, you were ready. She's like, but I didn't even know those were even targets there. And that's when the old lady was like, because you're so much more powerful than you actually know. There's so much more to you than you actually know. And Nica was kind of getting it and getting floored and being like, oh my gosh, this lady is so amazing. She trained me so well. She's got all these abilities. I didn't know. I mean, I thought she was amazing when she did the arrow, but this is unheard of. Like, how did she train me to hit 6 targets, 5 bullseyes from a greater distance and not even see them? And I was blindfolded. And all I was doing was just trusting that I was being led, trusting that I was guided, trusting that there was something inside of me greater than me at the wheel. So, I mean, Nica was just floored and just like, oh my gosh, you're so amazing. And she's like, please train me, please tell me, you know, you're the greatest teacher ever. You know, let me but let me come back. My family's wealthy, and we'll set up a school, and you can train all these people, and you're so amazing, and I will tell everybody how great you are, and you're amazing, and you just, oh, you're so awesome, and I can't believe that happened. And the old lady was like, but I don't know how to do archery. Like, how could I possibly do that? That's not for me to do. And Nica was like, what are you kidding me? You exploded my arrow. You got me to shoot to all these different targets. Like, what do you mean? You're the greatest trainer of ever. And the old lady's like, I don't know how to do archery. But the lady's like, but how did you, what do you mean you don't know? You trained me so well? And the old lady's like, but I didn't train you. She's like, what did I tell you to do? And Nico's like, well, you told me to, and she's trying to think. She's like, well, she couldn't really think. The old lady didn't really tell her what to do. The old lady just told her to do what she felt like she should do, and was able to help guide her back to what she was inspired to do, not so much telling her that she had to hold it this way or do it that way. And she's a little confused, like, hey, wait, well, what? Yeah, but then how did you shoot that arrow? You shot that arrow and you exploded my arrow, and what about that? And the old lady's like, well, I had never shot a bow and arrow before. And then Nica's like, what do you mean? She's like, well, source, God, universe, whatever you say, basically directed me in the town before I saw you to get a bow, get a quiver of arrows, and that someone would need me. And then Nica was like, what? She's like, yeah, it must have been a lucky shot. And then Nica was floored in multiple ways. But to think that this lady risked her horse, pretty much all her livelihood, to serve her because she was inspired to get that bow, get that quiver of arrows, and that she would be, the old lady would be guided to help a person. And then Nica was drowning, miserable. And this old lady, just following guidance, was able to change her life so radically and get Nica to hit the 6 targets. And Nica was still like, well, what about you being the greatest trainer? And the old lady, I'm not supposed to be. You're supposed to be. And Nica, you're supposed to be the greatest archery trainer. And Nica was just like, she's like, you have a gift for it. You just needed to trust yourself, trust your gift, trust what you have been given, and now go teach. And that's my second request, for you to go teach others and bring them the magic of archery. And then Nica's in tears and she's like, oh my gosh, realizing that like there's nothing more than she would want to do than to pass this on and give, you know, others an experience of archery where they get to trust themselves, they get to enjoy it, they get to experience her passion. Wow, not getting squashed, not getting forced into something. And like, now Nica had a whole new life path. Had experience of this amazing lady that, you know, trusted intuition, trusted guidance, and completely changed her life. And now she was gonna, you know, continue to pass that on. And she did. She set up an amazing school, taught kids and adults archery. And she never, like, even though following her thing, she never replicated that, you know, shoot an arrow and exploding another. She never replicated it. But there were times where she kind of like wonders, like, did that really happen? You know, am I really guided? Because it just felt so natural to her. It felt like just following who she was once she got pulled back, because it kind of, the life almost mirrored where she was going, but it was a completely different new experience for her. And she didn't need to compete anymore, but she could have. And she knew like when it was time to compete, she probably would. She would get the vibe. But every time she kind of like started doubting, every once in a while, one of her students would split an arrow and explode it. And she knew that was Source talking to her, saying, no, I got you, I got you. So I want you to leave you with that story. Hopefully you're inspired to find yourself in that story, and you are more magical than you can possibly imagine. So if you enjoyed that story of Nica, and you're hoping that maybe there's your magic there that you just need to unwind. Unwind all the stuff that maybe that has been pushed upon you, pushed you down, told that you have to do this way, and you want a way to start unwinding that and actually reveal the amazing you that's you. I invite you to check out my Freedom Through Safety class. It is that. It's where we use your unconscious mind to do energy work on your unconscious mind, because it's all coming from your unconscious. It operates at 400,000 bits per second, your conscious mind 7 to 9. So what gets put deep in the unconscious, generally when you're a small young child, gets embedded there and kind of replicates your future life, and everything else kind of packs on top. But if we can pull that away, pull all that conditioning, all the shoulds, have to be's, do it this way, to where you get to start doing it the way Source designed you, do what God put in your heart, all of a sudden your life becomes magical and it's just extraordinary. So if you want to start and get on that path and start that training, check out Freedom Through Safety Challenge. I invite you to come. It's fantastic, and you'll find out just how powerful you really are. And have a blessed day or a blessed night.